Why they do it is to analyze the variance of their causes and the point of incidence where exactly they meet. It supplies the ways to utilize properly the material, labor and also the overhead to the management in several management functions while formulating price and production policy. Transferring authority and responsibility to somebody else. That is called delegation. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I'm Vidhyaashram from the Department of Commerce and Management in Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. Welcome to all the students. Now here we are in the 6th chapter, the last chapter, and here we'll go with the first session of this chapter. What exactly this chapter is all about? The chapter name is Standard Costing and what you mean by standard costing. Now, standard costing is a method of costing by which standard costs are employed. Now here you need to understand, whenever we go with standard, now who are the person who will actually set a standard? This is actually set by the company. Now company will decide what is that we are supposed to do. In other words, if I tell you it is like a target that this is what we are supposed to go. That is a minimum kind of a target which the company gives to us. Now, according to ICMA London, standard costing is the preparation and use of standard cost, their comparison with actual cost. So here standard is that, again we know that the real cost is your actual cost. Now there is always a similarities. What exactly the standard cost is? What is your actual cost? They'll always compare. So what is that they'll do is they'll compare standard with the actual as well as the actual with the standard. So why they do it is to analyze the variance of their causes and the point of incidence where exactly they meet. That is, now say example, we have standards are set here. Standards. Now, actual we have done that. Now, where exactly they meet, we'll actually see to it. This is the point of incidence as well as why there was a cause of the comparison, whether the standard was more or actual was more. That are also variation we will actually see. That is, we'll analyze the variances. We'll analyze the variances. The variances in the sense, it is not constant. It always keeps changing. Now, what are the objectives of standard costing is? It helps to implement budgetary control system in operation. When we know that what exactly the standard should be, so what is the objective of it is to know that what exactly the budgetary control system will operate. Second, it helps to ascertain performance evaluation. We'll get to know who is efficient, who is not efficient, what to make so that that person will be efficient. All these we will get to know through this performance evaluation. It supplies the ways to utilize properly the material, labor and also the overheads. When I say overheads, the other cost. Now which will be economic in characters. Please understand this. Whenever we go with the standard costing, the technique is called the standard cost. Now here in standard cost, what happens is we will get to know that about two things. One is the material. Next we have is the labor. And the third one here only, that is the overheads of material as well as the labor. That is the overheads. Overheads. Now it also helps to motivate the employees of the firm to improve their performance by setting up a standard. So usually targets are given by the MNC company or any business enterprises. When they give targets, what exactly the targets are. Now how the targets are made, how they are actually allotted. Now the standards is what they actually go with. So they have a kind of a policy in their own company that, say example, a fresher comes to the company. Now what are the standards a fresher should actually go with? So they make something called the performance standard. Now here the standard, say example, I'll give you an example, then you will understand better. Say units. 5,000 units is what you are supposed to, let's go with 5,000. 5,000 units is what you are supposed to manufacture in a day. Now this is what the company has told you. Now this is the standard. You have manufactured 4,500 units. So what happens here is, what the company says becomes the standard. What you have done is the actual. They'll always go for a comparison. Whenever they go for comparison, it is always like actual minus standard. So here 4,500 minus 5,000 is minus 500. So here what happens is minus 500 units. Now you tell me whether the employee who has performed, is he efficient or inefficient? That is how you will get to know. By setting what? The standards, you can evaluate a person whether that person is efficient or not. Now what happens is, the minute he is not producing 500 units, that doesn't mean that he should be out of the company or out of the industry. Then you will get to know that what are the things which he should know and he should do it. So you'll go for training development programs. You will call the person, you will talk to the person, ask him what exactly the problem was, why he couldn't meet those 5,000 units. Then what happens is, that person will also get to know the clarity of what he should do and what he shouldn't do it. That's the objective of standards. Next is advantages. Now what are the advantages of standard costing? One is the performance appraisal, the performance evaluation, the job enrichment, everything the person will get to know. Now apart from that, standard costing serves as a guide to the management in several management functions while formulating price and production policy. Now when I told you about standard which is set by the company, the standard costing only will tell that what are the policies to be maintained, to be drafted and to be given to the employees. Next here we have is more effective cost control is possible under standard costing. Now through standard costing we can actually minimize wastage. Through standard costing we can actually make optimum utilization of each and every resources which is there in the company and the organization. So analysis of variances and its measurement helps to detect inefficiency and mistakes, which enable the management to investigate the reasons. Now through standard costing we can minimize, we can avoid mistakes, error, fraudulent acts and all of the things. So that is the reason through standard costing we can actually attain a smooth managerial function in the entire organization. So that is what the advantage of standard costing is. Now once the standard costing system is implemented, it will lead to saving cost. See, when your employees are efficient, the second thing is your employees will perform better, the efficiency level is more, the effectiveness is more, production is more, profitability is more. So definitely what happens here is, the more production when we go for it, we can actually save the cost. Since most of the costing work can be eliminated, so whichever is irrelevant, wherever inefficiency is there, all that will be taken out, and what happens here is the cost will be less. Delegation of authority. Please understand this word delegation. What do you mean by delegation? Delegation in the sense, transferring authority and responsibility to somebody else. That is called delegation. Now here delegation of authority and responsibility becomes effective by setting up the standards. So once I start setting up the standards, now each and every employee who is working under me or who are working for the organization, they also feel it is very convenient and they'll also delegate the work to somebody else. Why? Because standard is set, so people need to only follow what? The standards. Standard costing also is used for inventory valuation purposes. Stocks can be valued at standard cost, which can reduce the fluctuation of profit for different methods of valuation of the same thing. So here you need to understand, when it comes to inventory monetary, now inventory are something which the company always look into. Through standard costing, we can also save the inventory cost, plus we can actually make the profitability which is volatile, that frequency of volatility will be less here. That means here the fluctuation of profit will be less comparatively to other systems. Disadvantages of standard costing. See, advantages I just told you here. Even we have something called disadvantages in the standard costing. The loopholes are always there. Whenever there is a boon, there is a bane actually. So here, since standard costing involves high degree of technical skill, it is therefore very costly. It is therefore very costly because small companies can never go with standard costing. They can't bear the burden of paying more salary to the employees who are strategists, who are excellent in the financial department, and the people who can go for a vision and mission here. So standard costing is very, very costly. The executives are liable for those variants that are found from actions which are actually controllable by them. If the executives, they don't know how to go with it, the entire show will be a flop. Standards are always changing since conditions of the business are equally changing. See, the demerit of the business is what? Volatility is there. Standard costing also, it cannot cope up because of the volatility. Though we use it for the calculation of variance, but how much variance it can contribute or how much variance it can control, we can go for that. But something more than that, definitely standard costing will not have that much effect. Standards are either too liberal or rigid. Since the same is based on the average past result, attainable good performance or theoretical maximum efficiency. Now here, sometimes when you decide the standard, what happens is, it depends on the manager who's working on it. Now sometimes he'll actually give targets which is easily it can be reached. Later what happens is, he'll give targets which are very high and people can never actually achieve it. So when they can't achieve it, they feel that they're not efficient. That will also demoralize their enthusiasm for working. So sometimes the standards will be what? Very easy so that the targets are met. Sometimes it is very rigid and it will not be flexible. That is the disadvantages of standard costing. Now here, when we go with the standard costing, please understand there are two methodology. The first one here is material, as we have already written. One more we have is labor. So in standard costing, we're gonna calculate what? Material, and one more is labor. Whenever we calculate material, please understand, there are two things which we are supposed to calculate. One is the standard. One more is actual. Here also same, when we go with this. Labor also we have. One is standard. Another is actual. Now in material, what happens is, we are supposed to go with two things. Quantity and here price. So that means standard quantity and standard price. Same way, actual quantity and actual price. Now when it comes to labor, what happens is, in labor we have two things. One is, how is that labor is calculated is on hourly basis, hours, and we have a rate. So here what happens is, standard hours and standard rate, then we have actual hours and actual rate. So it's very simple. It's like when we go with material, it is like QP, question paper. If you go with the labor, it is like HR, Ritik Roshan. Go with these combination. And in the next session, I'm going to teach you the formulas of standard costing. Now, in that standard costing, there are two things which we are supposed to understand. One is material and one more is labor. So we go with material variances, what exactly varies, and then in the labor we go with labor variances. Which are the two? One is we have, I'll just write it here for you people. In standard costing, we will calculate two things. The first one is material variances, and here the second one is labor variances. So these are the two calculations which we are supposed to do: material variances and labor variances. What is that you people need to do is go back to the video, check what exactly are the objective of standard costing, the advantages of standard costing, and the disadvantages of standard costing. And the last one which I told you was we are supposed to calculate only two things. One is material variance, another is labor variance. So in material there will be three formulas. In labor, there are three formulas. I'll tell you how exactly you are supposed to remember, and then you can actually calculate the question paper problem itself. Any doubt regarding this session, please do call us. We are always there to help you. Thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.